At the age of 17, he emigrated to New York in search of fame and fortune, and eventually he got himself a job as foreman at the Tiffany Glass Works. The name of Tiffany Glass is synonymous with luxury and luster. Chemists and designers combined their talents to produce unique techniques, trails of golden glass and the classic traditions of Millefiori. Joseph Briggs added his own skills, which eventually took him from foreman to personal assistant to Louis Tiffany himself. But fashion can destroy as well as create. The angular shapes of the Art Deco movement killed the Tiffany market dead. Joseph Briggs was ordered to dispose of the glass left in the works, and much of it would have ended up on the rubbish tips of New York had he not had the foresight to save it and form his own personal collection, a souvenir of his years at Tiffany. But thankfully, he brought a large selection of the pieces of Tiffany he saved back home to Accrington and gave half of it to the town. Now, at the time, the collection was more or less worthless, but Accrington thought highly of it and put it on public display, where it remains to this day beyond price and certainly irreplaceable. Well, I wonder if any of those other pieces of Tiffany glass that Joseph Briggs saved will turn up during our roadshow here in Accrington today. Let's now discover as we join our experts with the people of this part of Lancashire.
Well, actually, we call it the wobbly chest because of the way the front goes. It's always been known as that.
That's rather a nice name, the wobbly chest. It's a lovely shape, this, isn't it? I mean, really good, strong shape. And this makes it into a really special little chest of drawers, in my opinion. Do you know where it comes from?
I thought it was French.
Right. It's French influenced. I think it's more probably German, and we'll look at the linings of the drawer in a minute. But before we get to the drawer, I just want to draw your attention to the top. What have you been doing up here? I mean, more especially over there near you. You haven't been using it for an ironing table or something?
No, this is the condition that I inherited it in 16 years ago. I inherited it from two aunties who had no children, who looked after it very carefully. So I imagine that's how they inherited it too. I really don't know any more than that.
No idea. But it's probably done 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, certainly. It's inexplicable, but so strange that it should have been done so crudely, so naively. I just want to re-emphasize this shape, though. This is sort of, this serpentine shape was very popular in the middle of the 18th century. Right. Under the Louis XV influence, the King of France, the Rococo influence. And it's very well done and very strong, because it's really, there's not a lot of room. It's a very narrow chest. It's under a metre, about 3 feet wide. And it's compacted this very strong serpentine shape. We've got, it appears to be walnut drawer linings, which is quite interesting. And I was expecting it to be pine. So you say French, and I was about to say German.
Well, I don't know it's French. It's just something that I have been told over the years when I've had it.
I think, actually, although the shape is Germanic, and probably the compressed shape made me think it was Germanic, looking at these walnut linings, especially with this rounded top here, is very typical of France. But France in the middle of the 18th century. So perhaps it's French-German borders. It's extraordinary how crude some of it is. It is a country piece. I mean, the lock here is just made of steel. And in England this time, you'd have a nice quality brass lock. Really very well made, but this has been almost made by the local ironmonger. And what is...
None of the drawers open without the key. I
know, that's quite interesting, isn't it? That you have to have the key. I love the handles, and this, in a way, this rather odd asymmetric shape of this handle. And these are in lovely condition. They obviously haven't been taken off, they haven't been recut.
So you think they were the original handles?
I think they're original handles, yes. And the legs are unusual, aren't they?
Yes, because they're all part of the side of the chest.
And you see that a lot in France and Germany at this time. So it is a good 1740, 1760 chest of drawers and French borders, let's say. Have you had an insurance valuation?
We did have one a few years ago at £2,000.
I think actually £2,000 for insurance is not enough, because I think if you put it into auction, you could probably have a reserve of £2,000. So I would double that for insurance.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I belong to an uncle, my father, who died in 1937. And we used to go to his house every Christmas. And I always coveted this. And when he died, my father bought it.
You bought it?
Yes.
Well, how interesting. You don't know how much for?
Yes, he paid £5 for it.
Oh, my goodness, how wonderful. Well, you probably know it's made of coromandel wood, which is a type of ebony.
Yes.
And we have its gilt metal mugs. But what I love, and it's one of my favourite things, this medallion here is pietra dura. And these little medallions on their own as pictures that go on the wall are now very collectible.
Yes.
And we have them also on either side of the drawer here.
Yes.
So in its own way, this box, without anything in it, is worth a great deal of money. And look what we've got inside. It is absolutely pristine. Have you played with it?
Well, played with the drafts and also played with the chess.
So we have a fully stocked compendium,
Yes.
which really dates back to the 1860s. And of course, in the 19th century, this is what you did in the evening. And I think if I press this here, we have a magic drawer that comes out. Right. So we have shaker,
That's a shaker, yes.
wonderful, ivory. We have the cards,
I think these are the original cards.
the green, yes,
but
absolutely,
not
but not those. Considering it was made over 130 years ago,
About 4 or 5 years ago, I think there was some of the casing was missing at the front. So I had it...
well, that's not very much.
No, no.
Have you ever had it valued?
Well, we had the contents of our house valued in 1982. And the people that valued the contents valued this then at £750.
For insurance?
Yes.
Well, for insurance today, I think you should be talking about £2,500, if not £3,000.
How much is that?
Yes, it is it is a serious box. It's just great.
Well, I went on holiday to the Isle of Man,
Yes.
and I entered a fishing competition with my husband, and I actually won the fishing competition.
Really?
Yes. But I foul-hooked 2 fish, one through the gills and one through the tail.
Did they give you this as a prize, or?
No, when we came back off holiday, my
Yeah.
husband went to an auction sale in
Yes.
Chester,
Yeah.
and he bought it me
Yeah. Very good.
through winning the fishing competition.
So this was a prize for a fishing competition, but
Yeah.
it's wonderful because it's got this most exquisite model fish on the top. The Royal Lancastrian pottery is a very famous pottery. It's one of the best 20th century potteries. They had some marvellous workmen there. William Burton was one of the organisers of it. They started making art pottery about 1903. They made a lot of wonderful glaze effects like this, which has this lovely underglazed blue.
Yeah.
The fish which we see here, these would be done by having a slip, because they're slightly raised, aren't they, from the surface of the piece,
Yeah.
and then this would be lusted over it. Now, if we have a look at it underneath, it shows us a good deal about it. You can probably see, first of all, I like very much the idea that we've got the original label there, which was when it was first put on. We've also got here the Roman letters for 13, which
Yes,
means the
yes.
piece was made in 1913. And then underneath here, we've got in the luster, the initials RJ for Richard Joyce. And he was another of the great decorators at the factory. I suppose really the most credit for this should be given to the chemist of the firm, a man called Abram Lomax, who in fact came from Blackburn.
Oh, did it?
And he
Oh.
developed some 500 different glaze recipes, and
Yeah.
you see some wonderful pieces from Royal Lancastrian, but this is one of the best I've seen, and I've never seen one with a model fish like that, and these wonderful fish around the outside. So do you mind if me asking you what you paid for it at the auction 20 years ago?
£30.
£30. Well, today you'd certainly have to pay £1,200, £1,500 at least.
Oh, thank you very much, yes.
What a shame about the crack. Did that happen today?
Yes, in the queue.
What, you put it on the ground and it broke?
Right, yes.
Right. Well, be careful, it doesn't tear the paper. I love the bright colours in the watercolour, because so often these fade if they go in the sunlight, but this hasn't. I would think that's worth in the region of about £200–300.
Yeah. So yes, an Imari teapot, late 19th century, I would say £20–25.
Yeah.
A nice decorative piece, but, you know, a bit worn.
Well, I know you're interested in things of good taste, so I had to bring you this. Excuse me barging in.
Good God.
Are you a dog lover?
I have to say this is a real dog's dinner of a piece. But
It's so bad it's good, isn't
actually
it?
it's wonderful.
And slipcast, the classic slipcast figure.
Biscuit. Where would you say French?
Biscuit, dogs.
Dog
No,
biscuit,
no. French or German.
And he's lost his paw, poor
Yeah,
dog.
poor. I would think it's worth around
It's in a bit battered, but
£200?
yes, amazingly, wouldn't you?
It's a real masterpiece.
I bought it about 13 years ago at a craft fair from a lady that renovated old linen, and this was in a box on the floor, and it was absolutely black. And I said how much, and she said £8.
That is incredible. I mean, I think it's one of the most stunning pieces of 18th century embroidery I've ever seen from the point of view of quality. What I love is that how the flowers are done with absolute botanical accuracy. I mean, it's beautifully worked. How did you clean it? Because you must have been terribly clever.
Well, I did it very carefully with a toothbrush and a bar of soap, and just did each little bit, and then I hung it on the line to dry.
I suspect the textile conservators would be absolutely horrified at what you did with it, but the result is absolutely I mean, it's as good as the day it was embroidered.
Yes.
It must date from about 1740. Now, I think you should certainly insure it for up to £400 or £500.
They were supposed to have come from sale rooms in Inverness, and a friend of mine purchased them, and he wanted to come along here today, but he didn't like the weather, so he asked me to bring them for him.
Yes,
so
we've had quite a lot of snow,
yeah.
and so it doesn't seem to have put a lot of people off coming, though. But
That's right.
So there's no absolute direct kind of family association.
No connections, no.
Well, this watercolour and this one here are of Rachel and Frederick Forbes,
Right.
and the artist is a miniature painter called William Booth, who was born in Aberdeen at the beginning of the 19th century.
Yeah.
And from the date of these, which is 1841, it was just within his lifetime. Now, I think that this portrait of Rachel here is of absolutely exquisite quality.
Absolutely.
I think she's a very beautiful woman,
Yeah.
and so elegantly posed. I'm not so keen on him, to be honest.
He's rather thin.
Narrow-waisted.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
this high chin, this kind of uniform accentuates the figure.
Yeah.
But it may be seen rather strange to actually call them miniatures, because in fact they are, what, some kind of 10, 11 inches high.
Yes.
If you could imagine that would be encompassed in a small miniature frame,
Right.
the quality would still be there to show through and show how brilliant they are painted.
Yes.
The bird's eye maple frames are rather elegant, and so they're just as they were done.
Yes.
Price-wise, a little bit difficult, but I'd certainly think that £1,000 or £1,500 would be the value for the pair.
My father bought it and gave it to me in his lifetime. And it was one of the nicest things that he had, so...
What a lovely gift to have. To me, to see a piece of silver like this, so plain and yet so elegant, you know, it's absolutely lovely. It's made to my stand anyway, by one of the finest of the silversmiths actually, John Schofield. It was actually made on the hallmark here. It has what's termed as the incuse head. Whenever you see the sovereign's head on silver, it's raised, but this one is actually cut in. It's very, very worn, but it's there. And that was when they introduced duty on silver. It's obviously not a coffee pot. By the design, it's made as a claret jug, and very, very elegant. Do you use it at all?
No, we have it out on the piano and enjoy looking at it, but we don't use it.
So do I enjoy looking at it, actually. Now, when you come back to real basics, I suppose what you want to know from me is what it's worth. What's it worth?
What's it worth?
Would you have a guess at it?
I wouldn't like to. Not sitting with you.
Well, I could see that in any auction making certainly between £2,000 and £2,500. It's a beauty. It really is. And thanks for bringing it along today.
I'm glad I did.
Thank you.
It's brilliant.
These absolutely fascinate me. Both beautiful plates. Superb plates, aren't they? After the subjects of Landseer. And they're marked here, aren't they? Stagart Bay after Sir Landseer, R.A. by R.F. Purling. Purling was a magnificent Worcester artist in the 1870s, or the 60s and 70s, and these are superb. Some of the finest Purling plates I've seen. Wonderfully pierced at the border, hand cut out, and then little pearls put around the edges of the piercing. I suppose nowadays each plate can be worth about £700, £800, something like that. Oh. Absolutely beautiful. So look after them, treat them very, very carefully.
Oh, I will, yeah.
And here, two plates from a later period of Worcester, painted by an equally marvellous painter called Charles Baldwin, Charles Henry Clifford Baldwin, signed faintly down there with superb birds. The birds are absolutely wonderful. Do you like those?
Oh, I do, yes.
How long have you had those?
Since about 1982.
Yes. Did you buy them or?
Yes, I bought them.
Yes.
Bought them because we like them, you know.
That's the way of buying things, isn't it? This one's a little bit damaged. It's had a little bit of restoration at the top. You probably knew that, did you?
Yes.
It's
yes.
discolouring now.
Yeah.
You can see where it's discoloured. Most repair discolours after a while, one way of telling it. But they're still superb plates. How much did you pay for them?
I paid £300 for the pair of them.
300 for the pair? Good Lord. I suppose this one, a signed Baldwin plate like that with beautiful birds, must be like about 500, 550 pounds. So that's the value of the two, isn't it? And this one, well, not so much, obviously, with the damage, 50, 60 pounds.
Oh, well.
But they're super, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah,
enjoy them.
Oh, well, we always had enjoy them, you know. It's a pleasure having them.
Well, at the beginning of the programme, I was telling you the story of Joseph Briggs, the Accrington man who saved a remarkable collection of Tiffany glass from the scrap heap, quite literally, and gave half that collection to the town. And it's now in the Haworth Art Gallery, and they've kindly let us see 3 of the pieces at rather closer quarters. The extraordinary thing I find, Paul, is how it is that this in the 1930s was thought fit for the scrap heap, and now is so sought after.
It's an extraordinary reflection of the changing pattern of taste. I mean, what we've got to think about is what are we putting on the scrap heap now, really?
Yes, right.
Because these pieces are seen as the high point of glass making, experimental glass making in the late 19th century. I mean, Tiffany is the great name. The French makers set the ball rolling, but it was Tiffany who really took it to new heights of excellence.
Now, what about the technique of making this? Was it actually very difficult from a technical point of view?
Yes, it was. I mean, what Tiffany did, as did other glass makers at the time, was to revive old techniques. The vase near you, the Millefiori one, is a technique known to glassmakers in the 19th century. But he did it in a different way and made it much more complex and much more demanding. But what was really new was pieces like the so-called lava glass. This was trying to achieve effects in glass that has never been seen before.
Well, I suppose the most famous pieces of all are the lamps, which of course are now very often reproduced.
Yes.
You've got to be careful, haven't you?
It's a very dangerous area.
Yes.
This one is fine. It's a very nice Tiffany lamp of the sort of classic early 1900s period, 1908, 1910 perhaps. And of course, it was electricity, you know, this great new domestic revolution. It was not just the glass, it was the changing nature of the interior environment it showed.
And the escalation in the value of Tiffany
is just quite spectacular, isn't it? Exactly. They're now getting back to being considered in the right light.
You know, by the looks of it, you're not only a lace collector or a bobbin collector, but I should imagine you also make lace.
Yes, yes, I had lessons from an old lady in Buckinghamshire 30 years ago. She taught us to make the pillow.
Did you? You didn't make that, though?
Yes.
You made it?
Yes, it's filled with bran.
No.
Very good for the heart.
And then you made
and
this
we made the pricking and put the marks on. Those marks show where the thick threads will follow the pattern.
Right, and presumably the thick threads have a different bobbin, which would be this one here, which
yes,
I
the
believe
heavier one.
We call a cow and 2 calves.
That's right.
Is that right? So here you have about 50 bobbins with the lovely little spangles, and
yes, to weigh them down.
Beads to weigh them down. So what have we got here? Right, so you've got some pewter and wood ones, which are highly collectible. These can be found now for about £5 each, so you've got quite a lot here already.
Yes.
And then we have another layer down.
More of those.
Right, we've got some more with names on. We've got one I particularly like, which says, "Marry me quick and love me forever."
Yes.
That is one of the finest ones. I think that's very amusing, and that can be worth £50 on its own. I don't know how much you paid for it.
Probably paid £0.50 for it in John Bly's father's shop.
Oh, I wonder if he's listening. John Bly?
Yes.
Oh,
When I collected enough money, I'd trip down on the bus and see what he got available.
fantastic. These bobbins on this pillow are probably worth 300 to 400. And what we've seen here will add up to about £1,000.
All for my 12 and 6.
Oh, that's great.
But here we've got a fine run of 3 English shotguns by the great English maker Wesley Richards, who are still going at this moment in Birmingham. This is a converted pinfire gun, which started out life with a French designed cartridge which had a little pin which stuck out the top, and it would originally have come out of the top of the locks there, and if you look there, there's just a tiny little bit of infill in that, and then converted it subsequently to a centrefire cartridge, which is to all intents and purposes the same as we use today. We move on to this other one. This is very much the same principle, but was actually built as a centrefire. But this differs from this earlier one in that it's got a safety feature fitted into it, in that you can't actually make the hammer fall on the striker properly unless you've pulled the trigger. It's known as a rebounding lock. And that was very important because if you've got cold hands and you're trying to cock it and your finger or thumb slipped on it and it went off before you were quite ready, then it might have been...
quite an improvement.
Yes. And then pushing on to this one, which is perhaps, I think, the most important of the 3.
You think so?
Yes. The simple fact that it's the Anson & Dealey patent box lock action that's still employed today. It's called a box lock. The simple fact that the action actually looks like a box. All that's happened really is for the mechanism in there has been compressed and put into this piece of steel. You can date these quite accurately from the fact that this one was a pinfire gun, which will put it sometime before 1870. This one about 1875 to 1880, and this one certainly before 1885. This is not in the best of condition. It's lost a lot of the checkering off there. But certainly from its interest point of view, and there is a tremendous amount of interest being generated by early shotguns, far more than it was 10 years ago. You couldn't give them away 10 years ago. So this somewhere 300, 400 pounds. This one round about 5.5, and this one, because it's got the Wesley Richards gold name there, which adds to it, somewhere 500 to 800, something like that.
So, talking about 13, 14, 1,500 pounds, something like that.
Something like that,
yeah.
Do you ever use it?
I don't, to be quite honest. My parents are actually looking after it at the moment for me.
You know, it's Burmese glass, which was first produced in the Mount Washington Glass Works in the United States in 1886. Really, nobody's quite sure why it was called Burmese, because it was supposed to have been, the formula for it was supposed to have been discovered by a Burmese glass worker. And then it was made under license by Thomas Webb in Stourbridge, who called it Queen's Patent Burmese Ware, because Queen Victoria was very keen on it. She had services of it. I'm almost certain this is Thomas Webb. And it's so unusual to have such a large one, you know, with these little vases, and it seems to be in perfect condition. But this is what I haven't seen very often before. These would hold night lights that you put in and, of course, glowed through here. But usually they are just glass. But these are made entirely in the Burmese glass, and they've got Clark's patent trademark, Fairy Light, written inside them, which is, you know, absolutely stunning. You know, of course, that it has uranium in it, the glass, gold and uranium. And that's what causes it. When it's reheated at the furnace, the pale yellow shades through to quite a deep pink as it's reheated. The other thing is that if you put a Geiger counter near it, it will go mad because of the uranium in it. But I mean, it's not dangerous. You didn't worry about it. But how did you get it?
I've inherited it from my grandma.
You're very, very lucky. You got it insured?
My parents have actually dealt with that for me, insured.
How much?
As far as I know, approximately 900. I'm not 100% sure.
I'd up that a bit. I'd up it to about 1,500 now.
another one. I don't believe it. What's another one?
It's another one. How much is this doggy?
I'm doing no more dogs today. The end of the dog.
But for £45, you had a very, very good buy, I can tell you, because that ring today, if it came up for auction, would make somewhere in the region about £350 to £450. So, it's a good buy at the time. What about this one?
That I bought in 1978. I paid £1.50 for it.
£1.50? What, with the chain?
No, not the chain. No.
Oh, what a pity you didn't get the chain as well. £1.50. Right, well that is actually mid-Victorian.
Yes.
That actually would date from around about 1860 or 1870, that sort of period. It's got a foiled amethyst in the centre, and it's set with diamonds on the top, and nicely enamelled around the outside edge. Very popular from the archaeological finds and so on at that time. You've got the locket back. It's actually gold. I don't know if you realise that, for £1.50. A locket like that would make today, I would have thought, around about £800 to £1,200. So, would you mind telling me where you bought it?
On Blackburn Road.
And is the shop still there?
No, it's gone.
Oh, what a pity, because I'd love to go round.
Well, it would have been extraordinary, I suppose, to have come all the way to Lancashire and not seen a pair of Lancashire clogs.
Yeah,
Were these once upon a time yours? Did you ever wear these?
No, they belong to Mother.
To your mother?
Yeah.
And she remembers using these. Did you ever use clogs when you were a girl?
I wore clogs, yes.
Did you? When you were a young girl?
I worked in the mill and wore clogs. Yes, yeah.
It's very, I mean, it's almost difficult to imagine what it was like wearing them. I mean, they look as if they were very uncomfortable, were they?
No, they were the most comfortable footwear that you can get.
Were they really?
Especially when you was doing a lot of standing and walking, and yes.
And one imagines, because of the way they're made, they quite literally, and this is proof of it, lasted a lifetime.
Yes. With tender loving care, yes.
Tender loving care.
Yeah.
You're obviously too young to have won this magnificent prize.
Yes.
How did you get it?
Well, it was passed to me by my mother, who received it as a gift from a neighbour about 40 years ago, 35 years ago.
So we don't know who it was awarded to?
No.
Well,
I used to pretend it was me.
Well. Anyway, but what we do know is who made the pot.
Right.
The pot was made in Birkenhead at the Della Robbia factory by Charles Walker. And there we have Della Robbia, Charles Walker, and in fact the date 1904. So obviously it was ordered for this extremely brilliant student. And it'd be fascinating to know who it was. And I still think it's probably worth more than £2,000.
I better not hit it with the Hoover anymore then.
No, I wouldn't do that. No, not good for the Hoover, you know.
No.
So here we have a cabinet which, to all intents and purposes, is Chippendale. All the details look Chippendale. The first thing I would say is the size of it makes me suspicious about the date. I would expect an 18th century piece to be a bit bigger. So let's actually look at the details and see if we can find out what date it is. This lovely Chinese Chippendale pagoda cresting up here is absolutely typical of his work. But these cornices, and this should come off quite easily, were made, surprisingly, in the 18th century, in the 1750s and 60s. They would be made in three-piece plywood. Now, you'd expect plywood to be a modern thing, but here you can see it's in the solid. And if that had been made by Chippendale or his contemporaries in the 1750s or 60s, I'd expect to see 1, 2, 3 pieces of plywood, each piece going another way. So if I can use my fingers as an illustration, you've got the grain going one way on one, another way on another, another way on another, which builds up a lamination and makes it much stronger. Here we've got it cut out of the solid, which is not the 18th century way of doing it. Chippendale or his contemporaries would not have used painted decoration like this. It was very unlikely. Mahogany ground, which was a very common wood in the 1750s, but not to have this sort of painting. When you look inside, you can see it's one sheet of glass. Now, again, in the 18th century, there always would have been however many panes of glass, 13 or 7 in this case, or whatever, individual pieces of glass putted in, which is a typical 18th century piece. Of course, it could have been replaced and broken, but it's unlikely, because the astrogalls are perfectly original. And the drawers, no doubt, here will tell us even more. Again, one of the first rules about furniture, it's a general rule, but it normally works, you never get this quarter moulding until about 1800.
Yeah.
But in fact, this is even later than that. The first revival of the Chippendale style was in about the 1830s and 40s, and then again in the 1890s and 1900, but also in the interwar period.
Yeah.
How long have you had this piece of furniture?
12 years.
Right. Well, it's older than that, but it's not a lot older than that. I mean, it could actually be just before the Second World War, or even just after the Second World War.
Yeah.
So it's not really an antique piece of furniture, but it's a nicely made piece of furniture, made in a good quality factory, and they probably made 10, 20, even 30 or 40 of these when they made them.
Yeah.
You'll never find another one. I'll probably never see another one in my career. But it's a nicely made, good quality cabinet. I am sure that will keep appreciating in value. I'm sticking my neck out here because you bought it 12 years ago, which is comparatively recently. How much, may I ask you how much you paid for it?
£1,200.
1,200 from an antique shop, or?
Yes.
Yeah. But I would say that this is worth, certainly for insurance, i.e. from a dealer, it would cost you £2,500.
Yeah.
So it's doubled in 12 years,
yeah.
Yet it's not even 50 years old.
Correct, yeah.
Wow, look at that. Now, tell me about these.
They are vases that my mother-in-law bought in a sale. I've no idea how much she paid for them.
And when was this?
It would have been in the 30s.
Do you know what these are?
Yes, well, I know that they're Moorcroft, aren't they?
Right.
Yes.
Do you know any more than that?
Well, there was a Moorcroft once on this programme, and it proved to be quite valuable. But having looked at them now, I'm intrigued because these, always thought were a pair, and they obviously aren't.
Yes.
And one of them has been repaired.
Yeah, old damage.
And there is a damage on that one. So, I mean, I assume that that's detracted from the value, so I really don't know if they're worth what they're worth anymore.
William Moorcroft started working for McIntyre and Company in 1898, and the first range he produced as a designer was called Florian Ware. And these are very good examples of Florian Ware. We've got the Florian Ware mark on the base, there, the printed mark. We've got Moorcroft's signature. This doesn't mean he made them. It meant that he was the designer, and he signed all the pieces that came up to the standard that he required. So he would prepare these designs on paper. They would then be applied to the vase by trained paintresses who would use the slip trailing technique, which is very like decorating a cake. And that would give you the raised outline, all hand-drawn, and then colour would be washed in. Moorcroft was very much a William Morris follower at that point, and therefore these sort of designs with their flowing floral patterns are very Morris-like. And this was his great mentor. He then moved on to other things. A garniture like this is very unusual indeed, because one gets the single vases. You quite rightly say they're not quite a pair, but that's because everyone was done differently. Everyone was done by hand, and so there were variations. This is all the same design. It's simply how the design has been changed by different shapes, and how different skilled girls decorating slightly changed it. This was an inevitability of the process. Pieces like this were sold by Liberty's in London, and indeed much of the Florian Ware was first made for Liberty's and was illustrated in Liberty's catalogues from about 1901 onwards. So we're dealing with a very, very stylish, upmarket product. What interests me is that in the 1930s, these must have been seen as absolutely at rock bottom in terms of design, decoration, taste. You know, the last thing these are is Art Deco. So your mother was going out, obviously with a good eye, and buying things which at that point had no interest at all. And the damage is old damage. We've got very nice examples of early riveting. This in itself is part of the history of the piece. It would be quite wrong to change that and get it restored professionally as you could now. If this set was perfect, oh, I wouldn't give you any change from 2,500.
Really?
Yes. But
that's as they are, the three of them. Yes.
No, that would be perfect.
Yes.
Obviously.
Oh yes, I'm perfect. Yeah,
so
I understand
yes, 2.5
that,
to 3, I think would be perfectly reasonable for a collector's day because a set is so unusual. And even with the damage, you're well over 1,000, 1,500, I would think, for the three, possibly more.
And this came to you from an aunt, did it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's a piece of genuine Tiffany lava glass. It's signed by Tiffany there, we can have a look at it. And, well, you brought me a lot of other things, which perhaps you were a bit disappointed about. They weren't worth a great deal.
Well, no, we weren't built up on anything, really.
You haven't, right.
No.
Well, I think on this one you might be a little bit surprised. It's difficult to give an exact option figure, but it's going to be something like £1,500, £2,000. Is that surprising?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
This on the rim is awarded to Private H. Wilmore of the 18th Hussars. And was he a relative?
Uncle.
What do you remember about your relative?
Well, as I said, he was in the Boer Wars. He was a sergeant of the 18th Hussars. And he was on his small, so they gave him the biggest horse to make him a level with the others. You see. And then he went to Egypt. And then latterly, he was on a pay corps in China for about 10 years.
That's interesting in that it's got the two clasps on it for the defence of Ladysmith and also for Talana, which raises its value quite considerably. And the two of them together makes the medal worth something like about £100, £150. Add to that, and you've got a group then, the two of them, of 250.
250 altogether?
Yes, yeah.
Let's see it open. There's the hidden lock. This is a strong arm bit, is it? Right. Excellent. Is this something that you've inherited, or how did you come by it?
No, my husband bought it.
You bought it?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
1958.
The story was that these things were believed to have been some of the chests that held the jewellery and the coin on board the Armada, and then they were sank off the coast of England and they were brought ashore. Nonsense. These chests were made for several hundreds of years, and in fact, before this one was made, they were in use commonly in England for at least 200 to 300 years. And in fact, what they were is quite simply a secure chest. Now, these things, when they're this elaborate, you can almost date them exactly to the mid-1590s. And this one, in fact, has got a date here, 1595, which is exactly the date I would expect. Not always do they have that. And the other thing is that often they weren't made in this country at all. If they were made in this country, then they were usually made by foreign workmen. These wonderful locks here are usually continental. So you know how many bolts this has got on it?
13.
And it is amazing that turning that key turns all these locks. Can you turn the key in the lid? We'll see if you can actually see the bolts come out. There we are. See how that, from one key, moves 13 bolts outwards. Absolutely wonderful. So, can I be rude and ask you, do you remember what you paid for it in 1958?
60 pounds.
How much?
60 pounds.
60 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, it has gone up quite a lot. But I always am a little disappointed with what these objects make when they're sold by auction. But you can't use them for very much, you know, so the demand for them is not very great. Have you any idea what it might make today at auction?
No.
It would make between £1,000 and £1,200. So for £60, not bad.
No.
And you can be sure of one thing, no burglar's ever going to get away with this one. Thank you for bringing it in.
It was given to my mother in the late 30s by a very old lady who lived in our village. And my mother happened to be very kind to her, and this is what she gave her.
So it was a thank you?
It was in her will.
It was a thank you present?
Yes, it was a thank you present.
And
yes.
did she have any contacts with the Far East, that old lady?
I'm not aware that she did, but she did have some nice Japanese bits and pieces in the house. It was a lovely old house.
It is Japanese, and it was made around 1900. It's a brilliant example of cloisonne technique, and you're using it for the correct purpose. It was an incense burner, and you put lavender inside it.
It's lavender in it, yeah.
There's so many different cloisonne type techniques, but this one is using thicknesses and wire, and we can go to the panel here and see that the actual design is done in very thin outline, but then the actual cartouche up here is done in very thick, beaten silver wire applied to the body of the piece. So a lot of trouble's gone into the piece. A lot of trouble went into the making of the knop, which is a chrysanthemum. A chrysanthemum about to explode. It's rather a pretty little thing. And then wonderful little panel of a ho-oh bird in flight against what appears to be a snowstorm. Brilliant.
It has a wooden box which is satin-lined. That it actually...
Japanese box.
Yes, a wooden box which
with
is satin-lined.
Japanese writing inside.
It was falling apart when I last moved
Keep it, keep it, keep it.
But it is the original box.
Okay. Almost certainly made by a maker called Tadashi, one of the prime cloisonne makers in this technique. And when you go home, put it somewhere safe and insure it for £9,000.
Well, earlier today I talked to you about this Tiffany piece. We had a look at it. We've had several other Tiffany type pieces in today, and nearly all of those have turned out not to be by Tiffany. But we're quite sure what this one is. I gave you a valuation of it, and you remember that what that was?
It was between 1,500 and 2,000.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to revise that. You probably would not find one of these for sale in England. You might have to go to America to buy one.
Well, then.
And £10,000 would be round about the minimum.
10,000?
10,000. I'm sorry I disappointed you this morning by not giving you a proper evaluation.
Well, I don't know about breakfast at Tiffany's, but it certainly felt rather like tea time at Tiffany's here today, because we've seen more examples of that beautiful coloured glass made by Tiffany's in New York in the early years of the century, more here in Accrington than I can ever remember on any other roadshow. So certainly Joseph Briggs, who we talked about at the beginning of the programme, made quite an impact on local cultural life. Next week, it's tea time in North.